It's my privilege to be here in the midst of chef. I came in this morning thinking that we were going to dress native, and I saw all of you looking, wow, so beautiful, the corporate, and I had to run back so that I won't be different. You're welcome to Jos, and you're welcome to Crispan. Thank you very much for coming around. I hope you enjoy what you have been experiencing. Yes, all right, fantastic. Okay, so I will not want to take a lot of your time. Let me start by telling you that I'm a dietitian with over 15 years of experience. And you know what they say, that when you have done something consistently for 10 years, a decade, you have become an expert. So you'll be correct to call me a food expert and a registered dietitian. Now this photo here is me. I don't know if you can see the resemblance. This is Michelle before, and this is Michelle after. I lost 30 kg to be where I am right now, because I want to show you and prove to you that food is medicine. Food can heal and food can destroy. And this is not the first time I'm achieving this. I have done this 5 times. Don't ask me why. Pregnancy, lactation, and all of that. So this is my 5th time of losing weight and losing this much. Because food is what? Medicine. I want you to know that it's doable, it can be done. The same food we eat can heal, the same food we eat can kill. So that is why in our profession, we go to school and we study food. I tell others, the engineers, oh, you go to school and they teach you a lot of mathematics, they teach you how to do a lot of engineering stuff, the doctors, the pharmacists, we were taught food. What you eat in the morning, afternoon, and night, that is all dietitians are taught. Food and the power in the food, which is why we are dietitians. The difference between dietitians and nutritionists is that nutritionists can tell you what to eat to prevent diseases. Dietitians can now treat. We just go a step further. We are just a step further, which means that we can teach you what to eat to prevent diseases, and we can also teach you what to eat to treat, reverse medical conditions like diabetes and hypertension, cardiovascular diseases, some forms of cancer, kidney diseases, and the rest. So this is me. You may want to say, okay, fine, well, you were able to achieve this because you are a dietitian. My dad, at 79, is a prostate cancer survivor, a stroke survivor. All right? The power of food. My mom is 70. Her own mother died of complications of heart conditions, cardiovascular disease. My own mom's mom, that is my grandmother, and she died very young, before she got to the age of 70. My mom is 70 now, and she's not even on any hypertensive drugs. That is food. She has younger siblings who are already treating this condition. So I just want to prove to you that yes, food can heal and foods can treat. And I'm very happy for this platform. Very, very happy for this platform. So what I have come to tell you now is for you to see that we can join forces, dietitians and chefs, and help our nation, help them. You even have bigger roles to play. That's the honest truth. You have the bigger roles to play because we have studied it. But who is going to cook it? Who will present it? You are the ones that will do it. So you are the ones they are looking for. They are looking for those people who will cook and they will be alive. I met a lady one time who is a chef, and she says, oh, I'm a diet chef. What do you mean by diet chef? I said, I cook special meals to help people who are sick, so they can recover. It was a fantastic idea, and she now checked. Yes, I was the one who managed my mom's condition when she had a kidney condition, all right? And I was cooking special meals for her before she passed away. And I asked her, what were you cooking? And she said she was giving her a lot of beans to eat. Someone with kidney condition. That is wrong. So the desire, the passion is there, you can see. I saw the excitement in her, but I didn't tell her, of course. So it won't be like, oh, so you mean I'm the one who killed my mom? I didn't tell her, but then there was this pain in my heart. This chef, if only she knew the right thing. So you will know that with food you can heal. With food, you can kill. Yes, moderation is just key. All right, so let's now proceed to the slide. This was just an introduction to help you settle down, accept it that you can do many things with food and you are in the right condition. So let's talk about dietary guidelines for the prevention of diseases. Just guidelines, because if we're going to talk about therapeutic foods, it's a lot, but these are just the basic things you should know so that you can start to cook healthy meals. Just the basic information that you should know. First, let's talk about guidelines. What is it? What do we mean by dietary guidelines? All right? So, according to Food and Agriculture Organization, food-based dietary guidelines, also known as dietary guidelines, are intended to establish a basis for public food and nutrition. Just take it to be basis, because if you don't have a base or anything, you will not be able to make modifications. Before you can modify a diet, there should be a standard. All right? So before you can say somebody is healthy, you should be able to establish standard. Before you can say someone is eating right, you should have what? Standard. So that is just it. It's simple. So that is what we call diet guidelines. We say if you want to live healthy, you should eat 3 servings of fruits and 2 servings of vegetables every day. That is what a dietary guideline. So when you see someone taking a bunch of banana, you will be right to say you are overeating. Why? Because based on the dietary guidelines, you're supposed to be taking 3 servings of fruits. But if we don't have these guidelines, you won't be able to make recommendations. You won't be able to modify. So there are organizations who are responsible for setting these guidelines, all right? So dietary guidelines provide advice on what to eat and drink to meet nutrient needs, promote health, and prevent disease. And then we have standard recipes. So if we have dietary guidelines, for dietitians, we have guidelines on the amount of protein you should eat. We have guidelines on how much carbohydrate you should eat. We have guidelines on the food groups. We have 6 food groups. We have the starchy group. We have the meat fish group and all of that. So we have guidelines that we use. So when we are consulting and it's a child, we know what to tell the person. So now, moving over, we also have standard recipes. All right? Just the way dietitians have dietary guidelines, you have what? Standard recipe. For example, I want to cook jollof rice, and the only thing I am putting inside my stock is curry. And I have told you I'm cooking jollof rice. What would come to your mind? Oh, thank you very much. I'm cooking what? Because there is a standard. Is that not so? You have already established standard. So, standard recipe is one of the most crucial elements in the restaurant and food industry. A standardized recipe is more comprehensive format of recipe writing. So for you to be able to modify your food, you need to have 2 tools. Number 1 is the dietitian's dietary guidelines. Number 2 is the standard recipe. Don't cook from your head if you want to get it right. You need to have these 2, the dietitian's recommendations and your own standard recipe. You can develop your own recipe. Am I correct? Yes. But as long as you've written it down, you've cooked it again and again and it has given you the same thing, then you can probably say, I have my own developed recipe. Now, what is recipe modification? If we already have the dietitian's tool, which is dietary guidelines, and we have our own, the chef's tool, which is a recipe, what then is recipe modification? This process involves changing an existing recipe to make it more nutritious while maintaining the integrity of the original dish. So this is where we are coming in. This is where dietitians are coming in, all right? It is important to note that standardized recipes are what should be modified, because you can't modify it from your head. Let's go on so that you understand what we are talking about. So what we are doing here is to encourage you to have what? The dietitian's dietary guidelines to have standard recipe, then learn to modify foods. You're not going to learn it in one day. Immediately after this lecture, you're not going to be a pro or an expert in modifying foods, but just start. Start from somewhere, then work closely with experts. And you'll be surprised, you'll be amazed at what you're able to achieve. So you can only modify standard. If you don't have a standard, you will not be able to modify it. Now, why is it important for us to modify unhealthy recipes? Let me now convince you why you should learn to modify recipes. By preparing a recipe in a different way or by substituting ingredients, a recipe can be made healthier. Recipes can be altered to reduce or eliminate fat, salt, and unwanted calories in the form of sugar. Alternatively, ingredients can be added to increase fiber, thereby making recipes healthier. So it's a two-way thing when you're modifying recipe. You can modify to reduce unhealthy things, then you can modify to include what? Healthy things. So modifying recipe is not just about removing. It can be both. It can be one. All right? That is modifying. In the case, for example, I started an instance for someone with a kidney condition. We cook with bell peppers. We have just replaced, instead of cooking that jollof rice with tomatoes, we say no, tomatoes are high in potassium. All right, so instead of cooking with tomatoes, we're going to cook for this person with bell peppers. And the person says, oh, Dasha Michelle, how about stew? I like to eat stew, and now you don't want me to take tomatoes. And guess what we do for them? We now blend carrots. We blend the carrots, mix it with some bell peppers, and cook it for the person. They are enjoying their food. They think they are eating rice and stew, but they are not. So can you see the power in food and knowledge? Everyone say knowledge.
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 Knowledge
is key.
is key.
Do you understand? Because I've just told you what modification is. So if I already have a recipe that says for 250 grams of tomatoes, right? I'm looking for in my regular recipe, and it says 250 grams of tomatoes. I would add, let's say, half cup of oil, half cup of this, half cup. I already have my standard. Then I have someone who has a kidney condition, and I know that he's not going to eat tomatoes. You see, I already have my standard. Then I have my knowledge of dietary guidelines. Then I'll ask myself, what are the ingredients I should remove? Okay, first I'll work with tomatoes. I'm going to replace these 250 grams of tomatoes with 150 grams of carrots and 100 grams of what? Bell peppers. What have I done? I've modified the recipe. And that person is no longer eating a regular food. That person is now eating what we call therapeutic foods. Have you heard about therapeutic foods?
Yes.
Yes. Healing foods. Thank you very much. So the person is no longer eating a regular food. So you see where we need you and you need us. We give you the information, you run with it, and we save more lives. So we are clear about modifying recipe, right? You can add, you can remove when you're modifying recipe. Now let's give you some dietary guidelines that can help you. Let's talk about some dietary guidelines for disease prevention. Plan your recipe with a variety of food. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains. That is the first place for you to start from. You know, we are used to the easy recipes. Spaghetti bolognese. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. What again? We like all those orishi-rishi. You understand? But I tell myself that I look forward to see chefs from Nigeria, all right, not competing with other chefs in the preparation of foods like spaghetti bolognese. What again? Cordon bleu. I don't know their names very well.
Yeah.
It's cordon bleu, right? I'm looking forward to when other chefs are presenting this. We are coming up with recipes, fantastic, good-looking recipes like acha, jollof love acha. Did you go to our farms? Did you go to Jos? Did you go to places where you will see acha? Where we are coming up with fantastic recipes like masa. When they bring bread from refined flour, we are bringing bread made from acha. When they bring pasta made from flour, refined flour, we are coming up with our own pasta made from acha, made from millet, made from guinea corn. We need you to show the world that we have good food in Nigeria. We have healthy foods in Nigeria. We can't do this on our own. Dietitians can talk from now till tomorrow. They won't listen. Let chefs wake up. Let them just present it to the table. Let chefs show what we have. And you will be shocked. You will be amazed. Do you understand?
Yes, we do.
Because it's a different thing for you to talk. It's another thing for you to see. And you guys are the ones that can show it. We can talk it, we can teach it, but you can show it. So please rise up. Alright? Finger millet. Has anybody heard about finger millet before? Is anybody here? Yes, someone said tamba. Let me tell you something about finger millet. I saw it for the first time here in Jos. For the first time in Jos. Do you know that when you are recommending calcium is a mineral. We tell people to take dairies. They should take milk, they should take cheese, they should eat yogurt. That is where they are going to find calcium. But guess what, my brothers and sisters? Do you know that tamba is a rich source of calcium? It's rich in methionine. If you want a glowing skin, you should try tamba. You have someone who is hypertensive and struggles with sleep. Tell the person to drink tamba. Tell them that Michelle says, try tamba. In fact, I had a client who was struggling with sleep. When she started to drink this, she said, look, Michelle, I had to advise myself to stop taking finger millet, which is tamba, in the morning because I end up
sleeping.
Yes, I had to advise myself. Can you see the power in food? Only when you know and when you present it. So right now, the only thing Michelle knows to do with tamba is the pap. And then we add it to our plantain swallow to make a very healthy swallow. But can you, chefs, come up with ideas? Because what people want is to be vast, right. Because of the varieties. Yeah. It shouldn't just be one thing. So what else can we do with this? We need you. Alright? Yes. So, first place is for you to plan your recipe with a variety of foods. Those recipes that you have, start replacing some. Alright? Variety of foods, proteinous foods, fat-free, low-fat dairies, fortified soy alternatives, all these are healthy choices. Have you heard of awara?
Yes.
Yes. What do they call it in Oyibo language? Tofu. Do you know this food is very nutritious?
Yes. Yes.
Do you eat it?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Then fruits and vegetables. Plan your menu to include at least 5 portions of fruits and vegetables per day, because this can help reduce the risk of non-communicable diseases and help to ensure an adequate daily intake of dietary fiber. I've been mentioning here since that based on our dietary guidelines, yes, I know that I'm talking to chefs and I will not be telling you all the standards, but if you've been paying attention, you would have heard me say that you should eat 3 to 5 fruits. That's the recommendation. So as a chef now, you have a contract to cook for somebody, right? Am I correct? And now we've told you that it should be 3 to 5. When you're planning, you can now say, okay, I'm going to add fruits to the breakfast. Then I'm going to give juice in the afternoon. Do you understand? You're trying to help that person meet his or her needs. So you have to learn about fruits and vegetables. I hope you know the difference between fruits and vegetables. I notice that people get confused sometimes. And when I say, tell me, call a fruit for me, and I hear cucumber. Right? Cucumber is a fruit or a vegetable? What about carrot?
Vegetable.
Is that not so? But let me also tell you something. It depends on who is classifying. It depends on who is classifying. Dietitians, we classify foods based on the nutritional components. So if that food contains a lot of carbohydrates, we know where to classify it as. For food biochemists, for agriculturists, they will say if that thing has a seed, they will call it fruit. For example, for them now, avocado pear, you know avocado? Yes. To them now, avocado is what? It's a fruit. But to us, avocado is fat. For us, avocado is fat. So when we have somebody who is overweight, we tell the person eat avocado in moderation. Because we classify food based on the nutrient content. So it depends on who is classifying, all right? So let me not get you confused, but plan your foods with whole foods. Start replacing some of the refined foods with whole foods. Start coming up with recipes with whole foods. Then include fruits and vegetables in your plan. Then fat. This is the major problem that we have. Fat usage, especially saturated fat and industrially produced trans fat intake, can be reduced by using cooking methods such as baking, boiling, broiling, grilling, roasting, or stir frying instead of deep frying. So can you see how to modify? Instead of deep frying, you should consider other options of cooking. That is also modification, because when you fry food, it absorbs a lot of what? Oil. So, in a day, we recommend that people should eat between 5 to 7 teaspoons of oil. That's a standard recommendation. For men, 7 teaspoons. For women, 5 teaspoons. But do you know that we eat way over 20 teaspoons? Yes, and that is the major problem. So I see people who say, Michelle, I don't even eat much. See the generally food that I will eat.
It's not oil.
Thank you. A lot of oil. A teaspoon of oil contains 45 calories. Yes, a teaspoon of oil contains what? 45 calories. Are you getting me? Yes. So you see why you should modify it. And I am very sorry to say this, dear chefs. I've been to a culinary school. Of course, to go for hospitality training and all of that, you have to pass through the kitchen, all right? And to cook food that is tasty, my dear people, it is what?
It's fat and oil.
Fat and oil. You will braise, how do they speak that English? You braise and everything with oil. Then you will saute, you will now still cook with oil, then you will still garnish. My people. So you see, there is work to be done. Is that not so? We have to start thinking. We have to start planning. We have to start asking, how else can I do this without too much oil? And you will come out with it. I know, you all look brilliant and intelligent, and I know that you will come up with those solutions. All we need to do, we can just shout as dietitians, there's a recipe here that is rich in oil, and intelligent people will just run with it. Modify the oil and bring it out for us, and we will give clients and we say, here you have a modified recipe, modified by Chef so modified by Chef Plata, modified by Chef. Do you understand? That is another way. So oil, we need to do that. Replacing butter, lard, ghee with oils rich in polyunsaturated fats such as soybean, sesame oil, corn, safflower, sunflower oils. So we replace unhealthy oils. When the recipe calls for butter, you can try olive oil. Alright? Then using low-fat skimmed milk, low-fat cheese, low-fat cream, and lean meat. Or even trimming visible fat. Before you start cooking that food, you can trim off the visible fat. You're modifying the diet, you're modifying the recipe. Limiting the production and serving of baked and fried foods. Pre-packaged snacks and foods like donuts, cakes, pies. Like in our hotel, we notice that in our tea break mostly, what do we serve? Samosa, cakes, donuts, and all of that. So we thought about it. How Michelle works in Crispan Hotels, so We care about our guests, we care about our health. So we are coming up with our own tea break, where we will say, you have the right to choose between cakes and meat pies. Then we have another tea break that we call finger food. What do we have in the finger food? Masa. I hope you know masa is a very delicious food. Yes, I don't want to start telling you things about probiotics and prebiotics. Let me just leave our talk to what we are saying now. But masa is a very nutritious food. And do you know that you can make masa not just from rice? We have made masa from acha.
Yes, yes, yes.
Very delicious, very, very delicious. So this can serve as finger. If you're looking for tea break now, something you can hold, bite, and drink your tea. Is that not so? Masa can do that. Awara can do that. Can serve as tea break. Instead of the meat pies and the rest, how about sweet potatoes? If you want donut is fried in oil, right? Sweet potato is also fried in oil. So what are we doing? We are trying to help our guests to eat healthy. So you too can start to think like that. You can advise your clients, you can talk to your guests. Why don't you choose this? Why don't you choose that? Then salt and sodium intake. If you want to modify recipes, you have to also achieve this. Especially for those people who are hypertensive and those who have kidney conditions. You will have to learn to modify. How much salt is recommended in a day per person? I've already told you about oil, right?
5 grams.
5 grams. A teaspoon. Level. Right? So, when you know that, you put it into consideration when you're developing your recipe. How many people will eat this food? How many people am I going to cook for? How many servings am I expecting here? Okay, since I'm going to be looking at 5 servings, and I know that this is not going to be the only food the person will eat. Do you understand? And we'll estimate half teaspoon per person. What are you doing? You're modifying. You're cutting down on sodium. Because a teaspoon contains about 2,500 milligrams of sodium. And when eating in excess, it's a problem. So limit the amount of salt and high sodium condiments like soy sauce and the rest, fish, bouillon cubes, stock cubes when cooking and preparing your foods. If that recipe, original recipe, calls for 5 cubes, 5 seasoning cubes, you cannot say, oh, I'm going to reduce my own to 3. Then I will add dawa dawa, right? I hope your guests will eat when you have put dawa dawa in the food. Not all, right? Well, that is why I know people know what to do. Because I may cook with dawa dawa and the guests will say no. You might cook that same thing with dawa dawa, but because of your knowledge, right? The person may not even know that the food contains dawa dawa. It tastes nice and they're eating. So you see where you have to come in. Not having salt or high sodium sources on the table, limiting the availability of salty snacks, choosing products with lower sodium content. Even when you go to buy your seasoning cubes, when you go to buy, I read labels. I read. You have to, as chefs, you have to learn to read food labels so that you know what to buy and what not to buy. When I go to buy, when I cook, I just cook with things that I know. There are things I remove. Seasoning cubes that has nutrition information. I don't cook with seasoning cubes that don't have nutrition information. If it has nutrition information, I know what it contains. So I just cook my food with seasoning cubes that have nutrition information, add my salt, add curry, add all of that. So when you go to buy your ingredients, read. What does it contain? Which one has more preservatives? Which one has too many chemicals, too many additives? Weigh. Another problem that we have, sugars, refined carbohydrates. How much sugar do you cope with, especially when we are baking, especially when we bake? Can you modify your recipes? Can you come up with healthier recipes? That is important. Cook and plan menus with whole foods that are rich in fiber, with low glycemic index, just like the ones that have been singing and shouting, acha, finger millet, red beans. Who knows red beans? Red beans, not kidney beans. You know we have kidney beans and we have red beans. That red beans is very nutritious, very good. You remember I said something about, for people who have arthritis, for example, rheumatoid, arthritis, there are different kinds of arthritis. We have the osteo, the one that is bone related, the one that is genetic, but you see that one that is rheumatoid arthritis. When we modify their foods, we take out things like beans from their diet. Alright? But guess what? These red beans, they can eat. Why? Because it's low in what we call purines. Red beans is not as high. It does not contain too much purines like the other regular beans. Now, sugar intake by customers and clients can be reduced by reducing the availability of foods and drinks containing high amounts of sugars. So that is for you to take home. At least we've told you about the dietary guidelines. We've told you about things you can modify first. Things you can start doing before dietitians come in. When they want a lot of drinks, they want drinks after eating their food. You can recommend Zobo. You can recommend Kunu. Who knows Kunu? Did you drink Kunu when you came to Jos?
Yes.
You didn't drink Kunu? No. Shamnata, where are you? Please, you have to serve them Kunu. How can you come to Jos and not drink Kunu? Okay, put down Bukutu. That is the senior brother of Kunu. So try natural drinks made from zobo, from millet, from tiger nuts, smoothies and fruit blends. Just give your clients options, then swap and save. Swapping some of the well-loved ingredients and elements for healthier alternatives is another practical way to prioritize healthy eating. Now, when a recipe calls for meat, you can use tofu. Yes, you can use tofu, you can use the plant meat. I had a client who also had a kidney condition, so we reduced his meat intake. Alright, we reduced his meat intake based on his weight. So, because of his weight, for that particular client, we were able to give him tofu, we were able to accommodate tofu, even though tofu is legume. Alright? Because people with kidney conditions have various weights. For someone who weighs 70 kg, we'll multiply it. If it's a man, we'll multiply by 1 to know the amount of protein the person can eat. Then when you have finished calculating, you now tell the person, sorry, for your diet plan, there cannot be any protein, nothing. You, who is weighing 90 kg, because you're weighing more, you multiply by 1, the person can take some parts. You can ask, okay, you can take 1 or 2 twice, you can take beef once or twice in a week. Alright? Then you can now add tofu once or twice in a week because of your weight. So different conditions will require different diet plans. There is no one size fits all. It's calculated, it's planned. And we plan it from scratch. So that is why we are calling for a partnership with the chefs. Let's plan your diet. Let's do the diet plan. You plan the recipe. Alright? When we plan the diet, you know what they call diet plan? Some of you may have worked with diet plan, right? You were given diet plan by food experts and yours, you were to now cook and present. Is that not so? Yes. Yes, okay, some hospitals too, right? Good. Fantastic. So let the dietitians plan the diet. You plan the recipe. That is why you need to know. You ask yourself, what's the medical condition? When they tell you, chef, so I have a client for you. You first of all ask, may I know the medical condition? Do you understand? And the person says, is this and this? You ask, do you have a diet plan? You don't just jump and say, yes, I can do it, I can cook. So we don't get into trouble. First of all, you ask, what is the medical condition? They tell you, have you seen a dietitian? Do you have a diet plan? Because we are to plan the diet, you are to plan the what? The recipe. But how can you plan the recipe if you don't know what the condition is? Now, always read food labels. Very important. You need to learn how to do that. You need to learn to read food labels. Then make water the most affordable drink available. Okay. Then purchase planned meals and recipes with locally grown foods like CNC Smart Foods. I don't know if people saw some beautiful people with packaged food products. Because as dietitians, we had to go into food packaging. Let me tell you what happened. After consulting in a hospital in Port Harcourt, and I told the person, of course, young dietitian, proving that I know what I'm saying. And I said, Oga, you cannot eat this, you can't eat that, you can't eat this, you can't eat that. And the patient just looked at me and said, okay, Michelle, you've said I shouldn't eat this or that. Now, what should I eat? I had no idea. So can you see how we can push people into frustration? Don't eat this, don't eat that. So what should I eat? And I didn't have answer. Do you understand? So you will find out there are people who their options are now so limited. There are only 2 things they can eat. Plantain in the afternoon, beans at night. Plantain in the afternoon, beans at night. They get so frustrated.
Yes.
In fact, somebody told me how he lost his father-in-law. He said, look, Desha Michelle, we need many of you guys. We need a lot of dietitians to help us. That it was after my father-in-law died, we knew what killed him. We went under his bed when they were cleaning and they saw chocolates, biscuit, diabetic. Everything he was told not to eat, they were under his bed. So when they bring the beans for him, he will just look at them and smile. When they go away, he will pour the beans away. Under the bed is bread and coke.
Wow.
Do you understand? He said, let me even die. It's better for me to die than to be alive and not enjoy my food. So you see where you can come in now. Imagine when you have a client who is diabetic and the person tells you, I've been told that it's only beans and plantain that I eat. And you tell them, no, that's not true. What do you want to eat, mister? What do you want to eat, sir? I want to eat rice. We can get it. I want to eat yam. You will eat it. Do you understand? I want to eat this because let me tell you, in the management of diabetes, it is not just the source of carbohydrate, but the amount of carbohydrates. Do you know that if Mr. A eats beans is a source of carbohydrates, are you aware?
Yes.
If Mr. A eats beans and eats up to 300 grams of carbohydrate from beans, Mr. B, who eats rice, and gets 100 grams of carbohydrate, when you check their sugar level, Mr. B's own will be controlled. Because he's eating the carbohydrates in moderation. But the other person is eating beans and abusing and eating much more carbohydrates at the end of the day. Yes, the spike might not rise as high as when you eat rice because beans has what we call a low glycemic index. But in the end, the body will say, I am recording high level of carbohydrates. If the person is on insulin, and the insulin is supposed to work on 100 grams of carbohydrates, what happens to the excess carbohydrates from the beans? So can you see? Let's not frustrate people. Let's not tell them that because you have this medical condition, these are the only things you can eat. No. Let's give them options, varieties, modify the recipes. And our products are made, so that gave birth to CNC Smart Foods, which is another aspect of CNC, our company. We specialize in packaging healthy food products. We have what we call therapeutic box. Someone who has a kidney condition, we know the particular products to pack for them and send. Those who have diabetes, we know the right products to pack and send, just to fill the gap. I hate when people ask me what do I do and I don't know what to be done. It's frustrating. I hate to feel handicapped. If you want knowledge, we give it to you. You want the food, we help you. Then you want the cooked food, that is where you come in. So we work as one. So purchase and plan meals and recipes with locally grown foods like CNC Smart Foods. Now this is acha, one of the products. Like we have the red beans, the plantain, but this is acha, and I love this food. I like this food. Why? It cuts across many disease conditions, many. For someone who has a kidney condition, we say limit the intake of beans. Is that not so? But do you know that this acha, someone who has a kidney condition will eat acha. Who has a heart condition will eat acha. Who wants to lose weight will eat acha. Who wants to gain weight will eat. A child will eat acha. Adults will eat acha. Elderly. Acha. Sick people. Acha. Healthy people. Acha. Yes. Now these are some of the fantastic delicacies that can be made from this acha. That is white acha with red sauce. It's not very clear. Then that is jollof acha. Then that is pancake from acha. You can make up to 20 different recipes from acha.
Yes.
You can make acha, you can make gote. Oh, you ate one, right? Good. Very nutritious. Growing up, I didn't like acha, but now acha has become my favorite food because I know that my mom used to cook it. You won't call it pottage, you won't call it jollof. It's if it's sweet. I didn't enjoy it, but now when I grew up, read nutrition and dietetics, discovered acha, the nutrients, I discovered that people from Bauchi toast their own grains before they cook it. Do you understand? And when they toast it and cook it, it comes out just like rice. I remember I gave it to my nephew one time. For the first time he was eating it. Auntie, at some point I thought I was eating jollof rice. Do you understand? So we need you to come up with creative ideas on how we can cook this food. So that brings me to the final point where I'm inviting you to join our network. We want to have a network of dietitians and chefs, diet chefs, who can help people to eat healthy. Now this is a project, this is something we want to launch, we want to start. So that after today, we can now continue the training, all right? So we already have recipes that we have cooked online that you can have access to. I have already told you about oil, 5 to 7 teaspoons. So you find out that most of our recipes don't have more than 3 spoons. Do you understand how to cook modified food? So we want to have a network, a group of chefs who we can now call diet chefs, who can help people to eat healthy. So we want to be together. So apart from the courses, we also have recipe book. We also have support. We have a private group where we're going to be providing support to for only the chefs who are now diet chefs. Then, of course, certificate of partnership as CNC diet chef. Then listing on our website. Referrals, because, okay, we are dietitians who are here in Jos. We cover many hospitals in Nigeria. We are in partnership with many hospitals. We provide virtual services for some. And there is now this demand, this increasing demand for diet chefs. And dietitians cannot cope. We are not able to cope. We can't handle it alone. So we need you to know what we know about these foods so that you can attend to your own private clients. Then we too, when we become overwhelmed, we extend it to those people who also know what we know about diet.